Part 3, TELOS. Purpose. Chapter 1. What? I ask. What the hell are you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there something on my face? I was surely hoping our first meeting wouldn't be embarrassing,
He said, covering his face. My face, with his hands. How the fuck do you look like me? He drops his hands to his sides and walks closer to me.
I am you. That's how.
That hardly explains anything. How are you here? I don't believe for a second you're anything but some poser, I said, pushing him back.
Makes you think more on things, right? I mean, when I told you that, you should have seen the look on your face. I really meant it.
He begins laughing. I don't.
Oh, did you lose your sense of humor in the time you sat in timeout? Come on, it was a joke. A rather smart one, if I do say so for myself.
What the hell is this? He shakes his head.
You're gonna have to be a lot more specific than that. There's a lot of this everywhere.
I take a deep breath. It takes a lot not to punch him in the face. This, me being here, you sending Megan after me. Why any of it? I've seen so much shit since you did all this, and I deserve answers, I said.
Ah, that word, deserve, so rightly used in the wrong context. You don't deserve anything, Gavin, but I'm going to give it to you anyway as a gift from myself to myself,
He said, opening his arms as if for a hug. Okay, first things first. Who are you? I said, ignoring his prodding. I know he's enjoying every last second of this.
Gavin Matthew Daniels. I was born on March 1st, 1999, to Lorraine and Gregory Daniels. My parents were killed by Jack Adata in the year 2013, 5 years after they left me in the hands of a cold-blooded killer.
He said.
And now I call myself Micah because it hurts too much to refer to my old life.
How do you know all that? I asked. This can't be happening.
Because, like I said, I'm you. Alright, I should probably explain this part. So, you are not where you think you are. Or rather, you're not when you think you are.
What does that mean?
What year is it, Gavin?
He asked. 2018?
Incorrect, good buddy.
I'm not your buddy.
Either way, no. Right now, you're currently present in the year 2060. Congratulations, you missed out on like 50 birthdays. I'm not making up for those presents.
I look at myself, my arms, hands, legs, all of it look the same as it always has. I'm calling bullshit. Wouldn't I be old?
We're not in your 2060.
Micah said, more serious. Explain.
Gladly.
Smiling sort of grin that makes me more anxious than excited. I'll be honest, when I broke into my old school, I didn't think being here with a lunatic could be my punishment. I miss those days. Give just about anything to only be worried about food and shelter. Hell, I'd even take back my dementia so I could die of natural causes and that be it. I have a feeling once I get to the bottom of all this, I won't be able to come back out unscathed. So, do you remember your last thoughts before you came here? What you did? I think back. I can see it clearly. Grace was succumbing to the tuberculin in her system. I was walking off the edge of the public plaza and everything went dark. Yes, I said, shuddering at thought.
On that day, that was June 30th, 2018. By the way, you exploded.
I look at him with an unchanged reaction. I'm not surprised at what he said. It's about par for the course for a lunatic.
You don't believe me?
He said, more than asked. You expect me to? His eyes scan around the room. They look tired.
You saw Mason, right? His end and how he torched New York City?
Yeah.
Like that. That happened to you. When you jumped off the cliff, your body went nuclear because of what is inside of it.
The Radical-9, correct?
Indeed. This was planned from the start. It is why I sent Megan back.
Back? And what do you mean from the start?
One thing at a time, Gavin. Please.
He smiles something big. I sigh. Tell me one reason why I don't kick the living shit out of you now.
Because then I won't give you the rest of the answers. You would go insane without.
Pretty sure with what I've seen, I already am insane.
Touché.
Okay, so what do you mean send her back?
I told you once before, if you were listening. You're far from the day you blew up, Gavin. This is 42 years later. I sent her back to your time.
Okay, like 7 questions just spawned from that answer, I said.
Take them one at a time.
Okay, so you said I blew up, but I am all right here. That proves I didn't.
Not necessarily.
Explain.
That isn't your body. And before you jump to the conclusion, I didn't steal your body either.
This isn't my body. That's impossible. I can feel it. I'm inside my body.
What you're feeling isn't human. It's a bionic shell which your consciousness now lives inside of.
Bionic? It's a robot? I'm a robot?
In short, yes. It's called an automaton. A robot that is meant to act and look like a human. You're in possession of one modeled after yourself, as am I. Although I am only doing so because it's more convenient than the 61-year-old body I had originally. This was the goal of sending Megan back to your time.
Wait, hold on. I'm not ready for that answer. I'm still stuck on you saying I'm a robot.
Okay, so let me try to explain it as plain as I can. The Radical-9 in your system reacts violently after death. I don't know the specifics, only that your heartbeat is what keeps your blood pumping enough to neutralize the explosive reaction. You had a mixture of the turbocurarine inside your body and the shock from falling that led to your body's death.
And so I exploded.
Correct. You destroyed the city of Denver, quite impressively too. Body count somewhere near 550,000.
What?
Yeah, a lot of people died that day. Almost as much as Mason, actually. He broke 1 million in the greater part of New York City.
How can I trust that this information is correct?
You do, or you don't. I don't have the newspaper of the day, if you were wondering.
Over 500,000 people died? Prove to me I'm a robot.
What?
I want proof. I want solid proof that what you're saying isn't bullshit. He seems to think this over and then mouths,
1 second.
to me, walking off. I walk to follow, but he turns his head quick and says,
Stay.
I listen, not completely sure why, but I do. Right now would be the perfect time for my plan to escape from this guy and find out where I am, but he's right. I do want answers, and for now it seems that I am the one that has the Chapter 2. It doesn't take long for Micah to return. He's carrying a silver scalpel in his hands. What are you planning on doing with that? I ask.
Oh, there's a panel here on the cubicle you were in. I needed to open it showing proof.
Micah says, walking past me. Okay, I said, turning around. Is it so bad that you needed it? My eyes go wide as he turns, brings the scalpel down the length of my arm. I feel it burn as he steps away from my counterattack. I grab my arm in pain and look up at him.
Surprise! There wasn't any panel on the cubicle. But man, you should have seen the look on our face.
You're fucking dead, I said, stepping closer to him.
Hold on. Look at your arm.
Micah said, unmoving. I said, looking down at my arm. A white liquid trails down my forearm. White blood?
That's my proof,
He said, his arms open again. Megan had white blood, I said, remembering.
Correct. She was not the actual Jack Adata. She is similar to you. The only difference was I didn't have any of her actual consciousness to implant, so I had to work with memories.
Micah said. What do you mean, work with?
Follow me. I have something to show you which can help explain some of these answers.
He said, walking back down the path he'd gone before. It's a cylindrical hallway that curves around in a half circle. Wait, why couldn't you just lead me down this way when you were getting your scalpel? I asked, jogging to catch up, trying to stop the blood flow from my arm, following the path around its bend.
Because you needed to ask that question. It wouldn't have made sense to you unless you asked that question. Everything has a sequence for which it plays out. This has been a long time coming.
Micah said. How long of a time?
Since I was your age.
long ago was that? And how is that? I asked.
What did I say about one thing at a time, Gavin?
I resist urge to ask where we are, but that question will come in due time. Inside is a golden room. I mean, it isn't coated with gold, but it just has this sort of aura to it. It's probably as wide as a classroom, but as for how tall it is, well, I couldn't even begin to answer that. It extends as far as I can see and then some. The elephant in the room is a machine that sits in the center of it. It's tower-like with screens at the base surrounding it. Huge power cords lead from the base outward to 5 different rooms on each side, with a hexagonal-shaped room.
This room is what allowed all of this to happen.
Micah begins.
This machine here is a product of the collaborations between my old partner and I this time.
Your partner?
He isn't with us in the present moment.
Micah said. Oh.
This machine is known as Icarus, which is an acronym for the Infinity Core Amplifier of Research Under the Sun. It's a database for the collective conscious throughout our history.
Explain in smaller words, I said.
Think of it like Wikipedia. You know what that is at least, right, Gavin?
Well, yeah, of course.
Good. This is a physical manifestation of that concept, being able to search up anybody's memories on the fly. It's all through this machine. Learn its secrets and it opens the world and its infinite complexities up to you.
Okay, how does that work?
You couldn't even understand the concept of it. Do you think you'd understand the specific mechanics behind it?
Dumb it down for me then, I said, not caring how much attitude slips out.
We started manually with each database, fact-checking and double-checking. When my partner was still here and working on it, we both decided manual was way too slow.
So you decided to automate it?
Yes. In my time, we have advanced energy sources which, in short, allow us to automate that process. It took 18 years for it to be created.
And this machine sent Megan back into my time? You said she was different.
Yes, since the Megan that you knew, that we knew, died in 2007, I couldn't work with her consciousness since it long passed. So what I did was install an artificial intelligence protocol with the directive of finding you. This included all of the memories that I could find relating to her.
Micah said.
Think of it as almost Megan. She wasn't complete. I didn't give her the voice she had since I didn't feel like it would be needed, and recreating a voice is much harder than you would believe.
Okay, and she was sent back to get me, I said, running my hand through my hair to understand it.
Yes, I had to use Radical-9 to send her back. That's the advanced energy source, by the way. While explosive, it also has near limitless power capabilities.
I remember Mason saying something like that, how Jack was growing stronger by the day.
Yes, it's what allowed me to use Icarus to send her back. I used that explosive power, the stuff has, and transformed it into a source I could use. I basically blew a hole in the time-space continuum.
Isn't that dangerous? The question I asked seemed foolish. Of course it sounded dangerous, but I still had to see how he'd respond.
Not as dangerous as the threat we face.
What danger is that?
One thing at a time, Gavin. Do I need to go find a chalkboard to have you write it down? I had known how stubborn you would be to not understand. I would have brought a spare notepad.
I take a deep breath. I notice I've calmed a bit since I've arrived. It's strange that it's now I find a sense of comfort. As wild as all that was, it was helpful taking each piece one step at a time. I wasn't sure how I felt about all this yet, but I was still standing, and he was the reason for that. I had to take this one step by one step. Why did you bring me here? I asked. What did you need Megan to break open time itself to bring me here for?
TELOS,
he said. Tell who what?
You asked for the TELOS, Gavin. It's Greek.
You sure love your Greek shit, don't you?
I find it very thematic, yes.
Micah smiles.
What can I say? They were the natural storytellers. Made everything all wrapped up in a nice bow. Telos here in this context means ultimate object, or, more easily recognizable, end goal. My end goal is to save this timeline.
Timeline?
You remember me telling you earlier that this was 2060, but not your 2060, correct?
Micah asked. I nod my head. Yeah, I think I've wrapped my head around that concept. It's hard, if I'm being honest.
If it were easy, I wouldn't be having the need of bringing you here.
Micah said. I nodded in response to this.
The reason, Gavin, that you and I are both here right now is no trick, no lie. There's no twist here but for the fact that this is not your 2016. We are parallel to your time. I do not know how your future looks, but if I had not acted as I did,
He trailed off and looked down to the floor.
things would not be in your favor. That's as easy as I can explain without taking more about a lot of different things. As easy as I can explain it is, you are in an alternate timeline. Your consciousness went through the hole in time that I created when your body blew up.
And why'd it do that?
Normally, your consciousness would evaporate to the afterlife or whatever anyone else believes in. My partner and I found out that there's a short window for when the consciousness, you can consider that your soul, is separated from the body. I sent Megan back because I needed her to give you those memories.
The memories of the Radical-9 incident? I asked. He nods his head.
Yes, exactly.
They started when she pressed her finger on my forehead at first, but then she gouged out her own eye to do it again, but with her blood.
Blood substitute.
Micah corrects. Right.
She used the Radical-9 within her bloodstream, so to speak, to convey those memories to you.
I still don't understand how that kept me from dying.
Technically, it didn't. For all intents and purposes, you are dead. I just rerouted your path after such. You see, memories have a desire to go back from where they originated after death. That's why your soul leaves your body to go to who knows where. You ended up here because you had enough of those memories in your system to override the original desire of your own memories. The new ones you received became higher priority to send home, and so they took you to the only path they could, right back through the hole Icarus had created.
Okay, that makes sense, and my old memories are here for the ride.
They are an anomaly. Memories that should have gone, but still exist in our plane. Quite interesting, don't you think?
You're a lot more serious than a few moments ago, I said.
Because we're going to a topic that requires as much.
Micah said, turning around.
Gavin, I'm going to show you something. I want you to be prepared for it.
He said, stern. Okay, I said, not really knowing what to make of that. Micah walks over to the main tower of Icarus and finds the keypad connected to the machine. He begins typing away at it. It doesn't even look like he's looking at the keyboard. I guess we have that in common. It really came up in handy when I was writing papers for school. Wow, that feels like such a long time ago.
I'm going to open the view to the outside. This room is surrounded by a bunch of now shielded windows. I want you to look out there and see if you can find anything of interest.
He said, still typing. I look up to see the golden like metal sheets covering the walls recede away one by one, revealing a metal frame and some sort of glass windows. They recede even near the top, and though I can also see outside. It's the nighttime sky. The stars shine brilliantly on their near black canvas. There's a chunk of space rocks among the stars. You mean those giant bits of rock? Is that a meteor?
Not exactly.
What is it then?
That little space shithole is Earth.
Well, hold on a second now. That's Earth? Where the hell are we?
We're on a settlement on the moon.
He said, as straight-faced as ever. I don't.
You know the events of the exploding man. That much you saw. And even what happened directly afterwards, correct?
Yeah, I lived in a shithole, I said.
Things kept that way until about 2021 my time. People started to get a grip on reality, society began to slowly rebuild itself. People calmed down and looting slowed dramatically. It was a miracle. People had seemed to return to normal lifestyle for quite a time till around 2027, when a dictator of sorts had taken control of the country. He was another envoy of the Queen of England. He brought structure back to us, but he took away freedom.
What was his name?
Oliver Avery. He moved the capital to San Francisco, actually. I don't know the details on why, but he did. Then we fast forwarded 2 years later, March 18th, 2029, Radical-9 is released to the public.
What? How does that happen?
It's the year that Jack Adata dies. His body is at its absolute peak for Radical-9 concentration. The explosion destroys all of New York City and a bit of Jersey. Gone, completely wiped off the map. The radiation spreads far and wide, and soon other people who are irradiated by the irrational blast begin to have similar adverse effects as Jack had. Fast forward one more, about 14 years to 2042, and nuclear war is waged almost tenfold. People lose control of their bodies. Jack was a single man, and he took out the entire state of New York. What do you think happens when thousands of people go nuclear?
The pieces start falling into place. And you said we were on the moon.
Yes, specifically a base prep for the remaining percent of the population who didn't become irradiated to the Radical-9 and make it off the planet before its destruction. You are now standing in one of the 10 bases on the moon created for that sole purpose.
So, this is all real? I asked.
Very, but don't get so down. We're on the fucking moon. How many people back home could say that?
His demeanor changed on the dime. A moon base, I said again, trying to process all of the information.
Its name is Sustainio 10, as in it is the 10th build, although this one coincidentally was abandoned for its contamination of Radical-9. Ironic, huh? Or would that be coincidence? I don't know, but it's funny all the same.
He chuckles. It's contaminated in here? I ask.
No, I'm messing with you.
Mika laughs. Okay, so where are the others? The other survivors, I mean.
They are currently in cryogenic sleep, Gavin. Each of these 5 doors holds a cryogenic pod which rests a survivor. Pods are being kept online by Icarus.
And what about you?
Me? Well, it's my job to make sure they don't die, and humanity doesn't go extinct. Those 5 people are the last humans beside us, too.
What?
Yeah, there was little room in the rocket that made it up here. I'm supposed to wait on the Radical-9 contamination, then wake them when it's safe enough for them to propagate.
Must be a lonely job, I said.
Yeah, ever since my partner, it's become lonely after that. Been at it for 42 years and 18 without him. But it's gonna be okay because now you're here.
What am I supposed to do? I asked, looking again at the broken piece of rock in the sky that used to be Earth.
Like you, I was infected with Radical-9. The reason I'm not in one of those pods is because I had it in my system. But for whatever reason, I didn't explode like the others. Ergo, I didn't die. I lost that threat when I shifted my consciousness into this automaton. That power of which I spent 10 years researching in my downtime here. Studying, endless studying. And I find a solution, what my partner and I do. We create our first automaton. It was a prototype model. Failed in the end. But it led to this model, the one we both inhabit.
What's different?
There's something different about you. Your soul,
he said. You mean our soul?
No, as strange as that sounds. I think it's because you're supposed to be dead, but you've got some Radical-9 bound to your soul.
So what, I'm forever poisoned by this shit?
I do not know what would happen to your body now, probably similar to the last one you died. But that's how you were able to see the visions while you were inside the locked cubicle. You wouldn't have been able to if you didn't have any in your system. Icarus is limited as much as it can do. It can only show me what is officially recorded throughout history. What we need is a way to prevent Radical-9 from ever existing, or at the very least from Jack coming into contact with it.
Okay, I'm listening.
A fortunate side effect to showing you all of those memories from Icarus is you've gotten used to how they are, how they interact with your mind, right?
It's debatable. They just kind of forced their way in. Well, actually, except for the last time where I guess I could control it. Am I correct?
Well, what I need you to do is work on the ability to fully control it, so that instead of them coming to you, you go to them. That way you can actually interact with them. Fill in the holes we have.
What holes would that be?
I don't know. If we did, our job would be easy. Huh.
So, anything relating to the Radical-9 then?
Exactamundo, Gavamundo. These aren't exactly going to act as memories because you'll effectively be going back in time to when these events happened.
I'll be time traveling?
That's how it basically has been for you receiving these memories, or at least it would be if you had a stronger pull. Now with Icarus here, you'll have that, and be able to make that travel.
But I'll still be in your timeline, right?
Yes, you won't swap back over to yours when you go back.
Will I ever go back to my own?
Yes, once we find out how to stop Jack.
Okay, I think I want to try this, he said.
It really doesn't matter that you want to. I mean, there's not much else you can do here.
Micah said. Guess he's right, and for the time being, I'm gonna believe him. It all sounds right. If I can stop this stuff, the Radical-9, maybe I can save those it took from this place. Mason, my father, my mother, Sal and his kids, Megan, all of them. I'm going to do it. I have to. So, are you ready? Micah asked. I nod my head and turn around. I'm about ready as I can be. I make my way toward the door on my left, grasp the handle and throw it open in some dramatic sense. I enter a small square room. It's strangely constricting, and I feel a little claustrophobic. In the center of the small room, I see a pod that looks somewhat similar to the cocoon-like machine that Jack used to irradiate those kids. Beside it is a small basin with some sort of strange light. It's time to start the fun. I hear Micah call from the main room. I guess so, I said to myself quietly. When you're ready, I need you to just stare into that basin from the top. Just do what you did the last time to make the visions come to you. I'll handle the rest. I walk over and glance down at the pod, stopping when I see a face through the glass window in the front. It takes me a moment to recognize Kate inside the pod. She's older, but I can see the 17-year-old self in her face. She looks to be in her 30s. Below the window is her name engraved on a plaque, Catherine Radica. I walk to the basin full of lights and look over and into it. The colors are glowing vibrantly and intensely. I'm staring at them for a few moments and then I start feeling lightheaded. The colors begin melding together and I'm shifting back and forth. I hear a mechanical hum behind me and I assume it comes from Icarus. It's another moment and then my vision begins fading. The colors are all one and I'm falling into them as if I were on top of a great skyscraper. I'm falling and I can't stop. I close my eyes and like before, the scenery is all different when I open them back up. I blink twice and notice that I'm lying under a brush of leaves. The sun shines brightly in my eyes. I look up and I see towering skyscrapers in the distance. I'm sitting against a large oak tree overlooking the city below from a hill that seems to be out on the outskirts. I stand up. I feel a cool breeze pass by my face. It isn't cold enough to be winter, but not warm enough to be summer. Just when is this? I don't have that instinctual feeling anymore that let me in on that kind of information. I think it might be because I was viewing it from the outside and not in. I begin walking down the hill. My pace begins to pick up and I almost fall several times. It's been so long since I've ran, especially down a hill where the wind picked up through my hair and I smiled. I reach the bottom, look back up to the top. Exhilaration. That's what I felt. I hadn't felt it in such a long time without also feeling fear. The edge of the city is closer than I imagined from the top of the hill. When I'd seen at the top of the hill, I saw a large city sign right next to it read Denver in big white letters. Something then caught my notice about the sign. It was phasing in and out of existence. Everything around me was doing it now, and I couldn't understand what was going on. The whole world was freaking out.
Hey, can you hear me?
I turn around, nobody is there. And then, I hear it again.
Hey, are you there? Answer.
I realize it's coming from my head. I hear the solemn yet stern voice of Micah. I don't know how to answer him. I try to think my response back. What the hell is happening? Everything's screwed up around here.
Good, you made it. I was scared for a few minutes it didn't work.
Why would that be a concern?
You can't blame me for worrying. Anything could have happened and we'd both be screwed.
How are you even talking to me?
Now that your power is beginning to develop, you can begin to see you can do a lot of things you couldn't do before. Like this, for instance. Once you learn to control it, you'll be able to link up telepathically with others. Although, only those like you would be able to respond back.
Yeah, I understand. I don't quite understand why I'm in Denver, though.
Denver? You remember that's the place where you were first brought, right? Also where the research on Radical-9 was handled? Head to that building, the Republic Plaza. I think you'll find Kate in there.
It must be done.
It does. Now, I have to go. The only way I can link up with you is if I halt the memory. So you're going to be back to yourself in just a few moments. Good luck out there.
Thanks. I see the sign start to return to normal. The land around me does the same. I sigh and look up to the sky. It has returned to its normal state as well. I decided to walk into the city bounds. Might as well start somewhere, right? I began walking down the road that leads into the city's heart. The last time I remember hearing about the Republic Plaza before being stuck inside of it was that it was really only empty office space and a host of some charity. The air that hangs around the city itself seems strained. It's as if it's holding its breath in suspense. I don't see anybody in the streets as I walk by. Cars are parked along the road, and I see many colorful umbrellas lying tabletops on the pavilion. Nobody is around to sit at the tables. I look up once more at the sky and see a towering hunk of metal. It is the Republic Plaza. It even said right on the face of the building. It stretches high into the sky as if it wants to give the heavens a little poke, an existential touch as if to challenge a higher deity. It's odd to see it from the ground level after seeing it from the very top first. I walk up the steps beside the pavilion and look again at the large building. I step closer and reach the electronic double doors. I see a button to the right of the doors which controls them. Take a deep breath and then click the button. They open. I step inside and take a look around. There are some couches and chairs to my right. They're all a matching black. The walls in the room are painted white, and so is the floor. I feel like I'm in the middle of some chess game where the white team severely outwitting the black. I see a figure in the corner behind a help desk reading a newspaper. They're holding it up so I can't see the face behind the paper. I walk back up to the desk and place my hands on it rather hard. I see the figure behind the paper almost jump out of their seat. She slams the paper down and looks up at me. My hands stink from slapping the table, but I try my best not to show it. "What the hell do you want?" the woman asks. She looks to be in her mid-20s. Her golden brown hair is propped up into a bun, which seems to reflect off of her blue eyes. Yes, I was sent here at the request of President Valhart to meet up with whoever's in charge. I don't know when this is. I didn't want to risk saying Jack if it isn't that time yet. She stares at me for a solid minute, unblinking. "Do you have any identification on you?" "No," I said. "Well, I can't let you in," she said and sits back down. I sigh and think for a second. I get an idea, then get close enough to whisper. Okay, so I'm not a scientist, but I need you to stay real calm, okay? I've got word from my boss there's illegal activity being performed here in this building, so I was sent here to investigate. If you don't want to lose your job, you'll let me through." I have a smaller amount of trust in my words after I said them. It sounds ridiculous. "Do you know Brian?" she asked, a sudden interest in her eyes. "Yeah, he's the one who reached out to me," I said, playing along. "I told him I didn't need backup here. I'm not in any danger. Guys who used to work here split," she said. "I don't believe Brian filled me in exactly on your mission, per se. Do you mind?" I asked. "I cannot believe this is working. Someone else is here for intel?" "Sounds like Brian. What didn't he tell you?" Well, pretty much just looked me up because of my renowned undercover work." Yet, if undercover work was renowned, it wouldn't be undercover anymore. She nods her head. "Okay, so nothing then. That's just right. Alright, so here's the deal. This place is like a minefield with bad news. There's some sort of weapons testing here last year done by the army, but the old place almost burnt down." "Burnt down?" "Yeah, there's a big story here about a girl who died in a fire. She was the daughter of a local lawyer. So that must have been the skeleton both Jack and I found inside the incinerator. But I think she's a bit wrong on the fact that the place almost burnt down, considering the room she died in was meant to dispense fire. That part isn't so much important compared to this next one anyway. So after these new guys come in, they're not army at all, but they seem to be just as secretive. I don't understand the stacks of document I had to forge to get my position here. I'm gonna be honest, she's extremely gullible. I wouldn't be surprised if this Brian guy wasn't the one that did all the work and just sent her on her way." "Well, if you wouldn't mind paging one of them down to keep our guys up," I said, nodding my head toward the phone situated on the wall behind the desk. Right, I'll see if I can't have you signed up. What was your name again?" Nathan." "Alright, Nathan, I'm Jean. Good to know I have a backup here," she said, picking up the receiver and pressing a few buttons into the keypad. "Yes, I have word that Mr. Valhart has sent an extra pair of hands from the branch in New York." "Okay. Yes. He'll be down here waiting for you." She hangs up. "Mason Radica, one of the scientists in here, will be down in just a moment." "Yes, thank you." That thank you was more subtly for Micah. Thanks for the absolute zero guidance in this whole shebang. I don't even know how I managed to fool this Jean chick with absolutely no proof. Can I expect to do similar with the scientists? I'm gonna have to at least try. The elevator doors at the end of the room swing open, and I see Mason step out. He looks the same as he did when I saw him first in 2007, not like how I saw him at the end, crazed and spasming. "Mr. Radica, this is the new pair of hands," Jean said. Mason walks over. He's taller than me by quite a bit. It's something different to be seeing him here instead of from the memories themselves. It feels different. Really now, you look to be a little young to be in this kind of work, boy, Mason said, looking at me. I've been told I look young for my age, he said. But I can assure you I've got quality work. My name's Nathan Denning, I said, outstretching my hand. Probably overdid it. I need to work on my improv skills, so I want to keep blowing whatever cover I have. Well, okay then. Is this paperwork all filled out, Mr. Armando? He doesn't shake my hand. I let it fall awkwardly to my side. Yes, I have it all taken care of. It was a matter of transferring his work over, she said. He nods and gives a sort of smirk. Perfect. Inside, I'm feeling more relieved than I try to let on. Nervously, I give off a laugh and scratch the back of my head. He regards me with a smile and nods. Well, come on, let me show you the place. Okay. We begin walking towards the elevator. Mason turns to me. So, you come in for the paycheck as well? Something like that. The majority of the reason is family, I said. Got to make sure they're properly supported, although I'd be lying if I said a curiosity to the unknown didn't attract me. It's a good thing to have, Mason said. Curiosity drives us all in the end, but don't let it consume you here. Oh, trust me, I've learned steadfast not to let the work consume me. Happened with my parents. Huh? Both of them worked in the field, I tell him. Were. The elevator doors swing open. He steps inside and he presses a button for the desired floor. Yeah, overworked and definitely let their curiosity get the better of them. I'm sorry. It's okay. Always try to do better than the previous generation, right? I guess you can say that. He nods. The elevator door rings and the doors open up. Now, there are 56 floors to this building. I'm not going to walk through the entire thing. We're going to take the elevator up to the 6th floor residential suites. I'll introduce you to my daughter, and she'll show you the ropes around here. Daughter? Kate. Yeah, she's the one who looks after the rest of the others' kids, since they can't leave them home alone. She's a real smart girl, and she'll have no trouble showing you around. I have important matters to attend to with the others, so I'll just have her show you around so you're ready to come up and join us on the 30th floor. The elevator stops and he motions me out. Alright, guess see you up there. He nods his head and the elevator doors close. I can hear it rising once more. I can honestly say, I didn't expect to make it this far. A newborn courage rises within me. I turn around and look at the room I'm in now. The suite is a 3-room space with chairs and a love seat in the main room. It looks more like the interior to a hotel than anything else. Looks like I'm gonna need to keep this charade up for a little longer. Chapter 4. Hi, I'm Kate, the familiar girl said as I walk inside the living room. She's a tad shorter than I am, but I can see she definitely has her father's eyes. She's got shoulder-length dark brown hair, and a smile that actually makes me think different of her than the one I saw in the vision. She actually has a nice smile. Hello, Nathan, I said, nodding my head as I walk in and look around. So, your father told me that you're going to be my guide for the day? I asked. Yeah, guess so. He always wrangles me with stuff like this. Case in point, me even being here, she jokes, leaning on the side of the wall. I assume it's not really all that interesting staying here all day, huh? No, not particularly. I had to drop out of school because of me looking after the other kids was the condition of my father working here, so it became either a matter of education versus survival. Where are the others now? They're asleep, it's early, you know. Ah, right, time's been slipping away from me as of late. I don't even think I know the date anymore sometimes. I laugh, fishing for a time. Well, it's gonna come back to you real quick here. That happened to me within the first few months. It's weird to think how much school was in helping me realize what day it was. Damn. Are you still in school? You actually look really young. Graduated college, really, I said. Huh, how old are you? Only 20. Wow, you're old. Make a sound of humility. Not that old. She rolls her eyes. Well, okay, Gramps. Where's my dad showing so far? Gramps are showing better at socializing than I'm not even myself. Just the first 5 floors. He said he was busy, and here I am, I said. Sounds like him. Okay, well, hope we realize just how tall this building is. I understand you're not going through every single floor. If you want, you could take me to the ones I'll probably be in the most often. That's what your father suggested. Okay, that sounds like a plan. You know, he spoke pretty highly of you, I said. He did? Well, I'm his daughter, so... she said, looking the other way. Well, he did so to a complete stranger, if that helps your view of him. I'm sure he would have kept you in school if he could have found a way. Well, thank you. It's no problem, don't worry about it. I'll have to make it somewhat quick since I can't be away for too long considering these guys can't really feed themselves, she said, pointing to the room in the back. Right, right, I laughed. My mother used to say that about my father all the time. Bit of a mistake here going into detail about them, especially as I was considering I had already told Mason in the past when I was young. Those kinds of details weren't things young children remembered about their parents. I had to pull back from that topic before it created any issues moving forward. Seems very much like a guy thing, though. Don't tell my dad I said that. Tends to get annoyed when I point out things like that, she winks at me. Solemn promise. I sign in front of my chest. Alright, well, as you can see, this floor is basically where everyone sleeps if they plan on staying a few nights to get work done. There are 20 different suites on this floor, but we really only use 1 or 2, considering how little people we actually have working here, she explains. Makes enough sense. Crazy they let the rest of the building just go to waste. I mean, how much space do you realistically need? She gave off a look of mutual confusion. Yeah, I've asked myself that question ever since he started working here. Keeps it nice and quiet, though. Well, too quiet sometimes. She changes pace on a dime. Now, come with me. We're going up to the 15th floor. It's on the floors between us. Food storage, mainly. Bigwigs definitely don't like my dad and the rest of them going outside of work a lot. She looks off to the side. I can recognize the derision from that statement from a mile away. Lord knows I didn't agree wholeheartedly with it, but I definitely couldn't show all that now. I was supposed to be one of those dedicate-yourself kind of scientists now. A lot of it's also empty space. It would be where the IT department would be, but we outsource any technical problems we have to the president. Anything beyond that is beyond what I've been able to eavesdrop. Lord knows you tried, though. She smiles coyly. Sure did. We walk toward the elevator and she presses the button, calling it to us. Why is that, though? Happen to pick up on why things are so tight-lipped around things around here? I hold for a minute. I mean, it's not like they give this info out during the interview process. She chuckles. Sounds a lot more complicated, definitely, but my guess is it keeps bodies in the building, unless people can spill any super confidential secrets or personal trauma. Guess the goal is to attract as little attention here as possible. That's why all the other guys like my dad are all freelance, not connected to any big names to attract attention. How did your dad manage to find out about this work? He was in the army before I was born. Guess he had some sort of connections. I don't know about the others. I only really see them when we all eat together on special occasions, and even then we don't really talk. Oh, I see. The elevator doors opens wide, and we step inside. Yeah, I don't really talk to too many people. Sometimes when the kids are asleep, I'll head down and talk to Shin downstairs. She's the only other girl here, so I can talk to at least have someone. She presses the button for the 15th floor. Yeah, she seemed kind of aloof, said. She's the best on picking up on clues, I guess. Doesn't make her a bad person, though. She always tells me stories of her at home, and it makes me wonder how things would have turned out if my life were a bit more normal. I understand that part completely. Yeah? Tell me a bit about yourself. Well, my parents died when I was young, like, really young. Oh, it's okay, really. Before you finish that apology. She nods her head. You're the reason I'm here, and I guess the reason why I keep moving forward. It took some time to realize that. For a long time, I was mad at them. Mad? Why? Guess I blamed them for leaving me in such a shit place. Where'd they leave you? Oh, some orphanage, I said. Fuck, this got too real. Can't let this distract me from what I need to be doing, or can I reveal that I was stranded and living on my own in America, which doesn't seem to have existed yet. My best guess is this is sometime in early 2007. The elevator sounds as the doors open and I see massive machines lined up until the very end of the room. There seems to be very little walking space. Okay, so this is one of our generator rooms. Probably saw the one on the 4th floor my father was bringing you up. I did. It was rather small compared to this one. It only housed one of those large machines instead of the almost 50 that sat in this room now. That 4th floor powers the first 3 floors. It's basically a backup we can reroute to any of the higher floors if an emergency happens. So here's where all the main power for the next 50 floors come from. Everything above is connected through one of these generators, if not more. It's insane. I'm used to having trouble with my phone charger, much less a power source for an entire building. I don't have a phone. Well then, it's good you hold me down here in case something goes wrong. We've been here for a few months now and nothing's gone wrong so far though. When did you first get here? Tail end of 2006. It was mid-November when I first got here. I think we were some of the first ones here. Now, here we are, 4 months later. 4 months, so it's March 2007. Jesus, okay, finally do I have a grasp on when I am. It's about a month before the Radical-9 incident in April. Alright, you ready? Yeah, where to next? It's a surprise, she said. Oh, come on, that's hardly fair, I said. Well, it wouldn't do so much as to spoil the surprise, now would it? I guess not. The elevator begins rising. It kept going up and up We're going past the 30th floor, aren't we? I asked. How'd you know? It seems like an awful long time for 15 floors of distance. I guess you're right. The elevator shakes a little as it stops and the doors open up. I see the familiar side of the roof of the Republic Plaza, and I can feel my heart sit into my stomach. She walks out toward the center of the roof looking out. I step out slowly, the doors almost close on me as I do. This is where I sometimes go just to lose myself when the kids are asleep. I look to my side and I see the spot where Grace fell down and died. I find this area so peaceful. Sometimes I look out at the edge and just imagine all the tiny little people down there. I walk out with her and look over the edge where I chose to end my life. I feel the cold rushing on my body all over again. Such a weird thought that not too long ago this place became nearly leveled because of my body exploding. If Grace had somehow managed to survive the tube of curing, she definitely would have gotten caught up in the blast. Are you okay? She asked. You look like you've seen a ghost. Funny you should say that, I said. No, I just don't do too well with heights. Fuck. I'm sorry. I thought it'd be interesting at least. No, it's okay. You didn't know. It's not like I would have said anything anyways. Oh, well, I'm still sorry about it. Why don't we head on back down and I can show you the floors that have food in. I like food, I said, still a bit nauseated. Hoped you would, she said, sarcastic. The cold feeling rushes to my head, and almost immediately I feel my head spinning. I feel myself thrown back and my view changes to the small square room back on the moon. I hit my head against the wall and I'm lying on my back beside Todd. I throw up. Chapter 5. Micah enters the room. I can see his face contort as he sees me lying in my own vomit. What happened? I asked, struggling to get up. Hold on just a moment. I think I have a spare change of clothes here somewhere. Don't move. He's gone. My head begins to pound and I feel very out of it. The smell is absolutely putrid and almost makes me throw up a second time, but there isn't anything in my stomach to throw up. Micah returned with a white t-shirt and pair of black pants. He tosses them to me.
Here, I shut up with the problem.
What happened? I ask again. Why'd it send me out?
I don't know what you see in there. I can only stop it to talk with you like I did at the start. Tell me what happened before you got shot back out.
I was standing out on the roof of the Republic Plaza. I remember where Grace died and where I stepped off the ledge.
So I'm gonna make the guess is that fear is what sent you out. You got afraid and your emotions got the best of you. So you returned here.
He said. It's how I get in, too.
Well, looks like you'll need to work on keeping that under control then.
I stand up, taking off my shirt and replacing it with a new one, then the same with my pants. What are we going to do about that mess? I ask.
Got some time to kill before you can do anything more with that pod. Your curse uses up a lot of energy.
Do you think I could get something to eat, too? I think the last thing I had was some snack food I had back in my time.
You don't need it.
Huh?
Your body isn't human. It doesn't require food and water to function. I'd even think that eating would be detrimental to your health because I didn't find it necessary to include a digestive system in you. Or me, for the matter.
Oh.
It's not like I purposefully restricted it from you, it just wasn't high on a priority list, you know.
Makes sense.
Of course it does. Now clean up that mess and try another pod. We've got 4 more people you can learn from while Kate's pod recharges.
Alright, fine. Do you have like a mop in here or something? I ask.
1 second.
He leaves again, and in a few minutes he returns with one, and the mess is promptly cleaned. I've got one question, I ask, finishing up.
Okay, shoot.
If I get hurt in these memories, what would happen?
I'm not too sure. I guess you could check with something small, like a cut or a bruise, and see what happens.
Already got one, I said, pointing to my arm.
Ah, right. Did anyone say anything there?
No, I'd actually forgotten about it until this moment.
Then I guess maybe it is different there than it is here.
Okay, I think I'm ready to try again, I said.
Excellent.
I turned to leave the small square room. In the room just next to it is the exact same setup. Similar looking pod, similar looking basin, the same weird light. The nameplate said, Andrew Cress. I see a guy who looks to be in his mid-30s or early 40s. He has dark black hair that spikes down in the front. I look back out toward Micah and Icarus. Hey, who's this dude?
1 moment.
He steps down from his post and walks into the room next to me.
That's David's son. If you recall, that is the boy who was the culprit of the infamous gum and hair incident in your first look at the scientist kids.
So this is him grown up here?
Yes. He's one of the 10 children that was infected with Radical-9. He's like you.
So he's got the same abilities as me?
Not everyone who has Radical-9 in their system experiences the same phenomena. His power was different. It's been a long time since I've spoken to him.
He said. You've met him?
Of course. He was my best friend back when I had to start all of this nasty business.
Who was?
He's not really much of a friend inside that pod, now is he?
Why do they all have to stay in the pods? Surely some of them could help you out here.
What is there to help? The Earth is destroyed, and that's all that's left. Better they don't have to experience this.
You don't have to go through it alone, you know, I said. Micah is silent for a moment. The awkward moment of silence passes, and he shakes his head.
Alright, I'll get her situated. You ready for this?
Yeah. He walks out of the room, obviously distraught. I take in a deep breath and turn toward Andrew's pod. Close my eyes for a second, then walk up the basin right beside the pod and peer over it.
Are you all set?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be, I said, but not really feeling it. I'm more so feeling a growing pit of pity for my future self. The ever-familiar feeling of falling returns, and the colors begin to take over my vision once more. I'm falling through the void. Then, I'm lying on a wet patch of grass and dirt. A front lawn, perhaps. I sit up, coughing slightly as my vision refocuses. A large white house sits in front of me. My attention is immediately grabbed when I hear a loud crash coming from inside the house. I rush to my feet and scramble up to the door. There's another crash and I grab down at the handle. I open up the door and run inside the house. I'm looking at two figures facing each other in a cluttered living room. A nearby lamp has fallen over and broken, and I believe it to be the cause of the crash. One of the figures, the one with his back towards me, takes a step forward.
We aren't going anywhere, Elena. I have a lot of work to get back to.
The voice said. I feel like I've heard it before, and then I realize it belongs to David, Andrew's father. Dave, you need to think rationally about this. Our son is watching, Elena said, her voice tinged with fear. She's got beautiful short black hair and bright green eyes. Behind her, I see the young child from my first vision with him. Andrew, who can't be much older than 5 years old. His black hair and glowing green eyes, just like his mother. He watches the confrontation with interest, but little understanding. I can guess they can't see me, otherwise I would have been acknowledged by now. Why is it only sometimes they can see me?
I'm continuing on in my work, and that's final!
That virus of yours is going to kill this world, David, Elena said.
It's not a virus! It's a cure! It's the cure!
He said, grabbing her arm. She wails slightly.
This work is what keeps you fed and under this roof. And as long as you live under this roof, you will listen to me.
He said, deadly serious. Unhand me, Elena says as she yanks her arm downward, freeing herself from his grip. David reaches into his coat pocket and pulls out a revolver. He aims it at Elena, and I can see her face widen in fear. Without any extra thought, I'm running towards David and I jump to tackle him to the ground. I'm surprised when I fly right through and land on the ground between them. I look behind me and I see David's hardened face. It's dirty, there's a wild look in his eyes, his arms shaking almost as much as I'd seen Mason's. I look in front of me and I swing my arms out to try to grab Elena's leg to pull her out of harm's way, but my hands phase through her as well. David, what are you doing? Andrew is watching! Please don't do this! Elena said, bursting into tears. I look back at Andrew and his eyes are wide, but he stands there like a statue. David, please say something. Please put the gun down. I look back towards David, and it looks like his eyes are bugging out. I see his hand shaking. Elena takes a slow step toward him. He looks up frantically and then nearly jumps backward.
Stay away!
David, I can help you. You just need to put down the gun.
I said stay back! All this didn't have to be this way!
Elena takes a slowed step forward once more. In one fell swoop, I see David raise the gun. He raises it and points it at his own head. I see his eyes are watering, and he shakes his head. In another moment, his brains fly across the room in a splattered array of mess. I hear Elena scream as David's body falls to the floor. The gun falls out of his hand and it clangs to the ground. The colors around me begin to drain as I see Elena running up to David and cradling him in her arms, crying. My head hits the floor and I'm back to darkness. I wake up lying against a hard surface. I open my eyes and I'm lying against asphalt. I get to my feet and look around. I'm in front of what looks to be a school. I see that all of the trees are bare. Snow covers the ground. I look down and I see another figure. On a closer look, I see it's Andrew Cress lying on the ground about 10 feet away. He's older than when I last saw him, but younger than in the treatment pod. I'd guess somewhere around 17 or 18. He's wearing a long black shirt with jeans on. His hair is a little longer than it was in the treatment pod, but has his trademark spiked down look. His eyes open and I can see the brilliant green shine through. He coughs once and slowly sits up. I reach out to touch him, but like before, I can't make contact. He stands up and looks around himself. What? How am I here? Is this some crazy vision? Did that crazy monster do this? He asks himself, dazed. Monster? What could he mean? I hear a loud crack, and then a few seconds later, a huge bolt of lightning strikes the school behind us. The shockwave sends Andrew off his feet, and he gets thrown into one of the nearby trees. I'm thrown to the ground. I hit pretty hard, but my pain doesn't compare to Andrew's. I hear him yell out in pain. I work my way to my feet, and my body begins aching. I look over at Andrew and see there's a large bruise sprawled across his chest. I can only see it because his shirt has a huge rip right through the front, and I can see blood seeping through. What the hell? He screams out. He begins to run away from the burning building, but when he gets a small distance away, he doubles over and begins coughing. He spits up a good amount of blood. I blink, and when my eyes open again, I see our scenery has changed. We're no longer in front of the burning school building, but instead outside of Andrew's house. He's still on the ground, hacking up blood. He stumbles to his feet. He's clearly in no shape to walk, but he manages to limp his way to the front door. He grabs the handle and throws it open. I head in beside him. Hello? Anyone here? Andrew calls out. I enter the living room slowly, staying behind him. I have a bad feeling about all of this. There's something in the air, but I can't quite put my finger on it. I notice the living room television's on, but it's only playing static. Andrew limps to the staircase on the back side of the room. Mom, are you here? He calls out, wincing slightly. I slowly make my way up the stairs behind him. I hear another crack of lightning. We make it to the top of the stairs, and Andrew stops for a moment. He must be thinking of something with a look like that on his face. I turn the corner and stand right next to him, and I notice that one of the hallway doors is open slightly, unlike the other door in the hallway. I can hear a low groan coming from that direction as well. The feeling of dread I felt downstairs intensifies. Andrew hobbles over to the door and places his hand on the handle. He hesitates slightly, and then pushes it open. I can hear the door slam against the wall, and I see his face turn to one of pure horror. I walk back behind him and look over his shoulder. I can see a body hanging from a noose. I look upward to see where the rope is hanging from, but it only leads to darkness. My eyes travel alongside the rope all the way back down to the body. I notice it's the hanging body of Elena, Andrew's mother. I see his eyes go wide, and he begins shaking. Come on, no! Get the fuck away from me! He yells. I reach out to grab Andrew's shoulders and realize I can touch him now. I spin him to face me. Andrew, you need to listen. You need to get out of here. Find help. Find anyone. He looks at me and then into my eyes. They're all dead. Everyone is dead. And you are alone. What? I ask. In another moment he faints, and then in a blink of an eye, he's gone. I'm standing alone in the bedroom. Well, not really alone, because the hanging body of Andrew's mother is here for company. I swallow hard, and then I hear another sound. It sounds like gurgling. I turn around and see that the body of Andrew's mother has fallen. It begins spasming and then slowly rises. I see her skin is horribly decayed now. It's almost a sickly blue color. Her entire lower jaw is broken on its hinge, and a rancid black sludge is dripping from her mouth. I also see that both of her arms are bent backwards at unnatural angles. She walks closer to me, bits of her flesh pulsating with a dark aura. She moans slightly, and a bit of the goop falls to the floor, burning the carpet. In another moment, she leaps across the room, knocking me over. One moment, I feel an intense burn on my right leg, and the next moment, I'm looking up at a different ceiling. I blink twice and look around. I'm lying next to the treatment pod, next to the basin once more. My leg aches terribly. I'm breathing faster than I probably ever have, and my eyes are wide open. So, Andrew is more like me than I imagined. I lost both of his parents, too. I can see how he and Micah were able to connect. Maybe if all this nonsense didn't happen, he and I could have been friends, too. Chapter 6.
Gavin, are you okay?
Micah asked, walking up beside me.
Your leg's burned.
I looked down, and there are burn marks, like how I fell back there. Guess it's not as different as we might have thought, I said.
Then I guess you'll have to be more careful next time. What the hell happened in there?
There was this monster. It shifted out of Andrew's mother's dead body. Both of his parents succumbed to Radical-9, but neither of them exploded.
Huh? Really?
His father shot himself in the head, and his mother hung herself.
Maybe it's something inside that brain that causes the explosive reaction. Maybe that's the makeshift fuse.
So Andrew talked about some sort of monster. It might relate to the thing that burned me. Do you know what he meant?
He did?
Yeah, he was about 17 or 18.
That's unexpected.
How so?
Because the Andrew of my time wasn't in any danger when he was that age. He was on track for going to law school. What I'm thinking is you didn't see the Andrew of my timeline.
What do you mean?
I think you might have found a way to bleed over into the memories of the Andrew of your timeline.
How is that possible?
In a second, why don't you stand up and catch up your stuff?
Yes. I sit there, beside the pod and basin for a few more minutes, collecting my thoughts and just breathing, taking in the air and letting it out. When I'm ready, I stand up and take one more look at Andrew inside of the pod. It isn't just me who's gone through the ordeals because of the stupid Radical-9. Once I can fully control this, I need to meet up with him. I feel like we could get through it if we stick together. Place my hand on the treatment pod and then close my eyes. Once I'm done, I turn around and head out of the door, facing Icarus as Micah rests up against the wall.
So, you want to hear that story now?
He asked. I nod my head.
Okay, so it is actually about one of the projects that Jack had started to ensure his survival. It was called Project Elysium.
He explains.
Elysium was the name of a virtual world that Jack had created. He built it once he realized that his physical body was decaying, and quickly.
I'd heard about that as well, one of my visions. It's when Mason had moved over to the Eastern Branch, right? I asked.
Correct. Jack's body couldn't handle being overloaded with Radical-9, so it began decaying at 10 times the normal rate of a human being. So in order to sustain his life, he built a virtual world. One where his mind could rule.
Okay, so what does this have to do with Andrew?
Jack had marketed the world under the guise as a virtual reality video game. This will be in about 2022 your timeline, as this never occurred in mine. Without a government to stop him, he was free to do what he wanted. He'd gotten 10,000 people to participate in the project unknowingly. People believed it as an escape for the reality of what was at hand. To them, it was just a game.
He trapped 10,000 people in this world?
Yes, and your Andrew happened to be one of them.
What about when I saw him?
Mine didn't experience that event. I think you're seeing the memory as a side effect of you being here. You might have connected with him on a level I never could have, to borrow that memory.
But that memory didn't even happen yet in my timeline, I said.
To you, of course not, but time isn't a straight line, Gavin. It's more like an ocean. Just because it did not happen to you does not mean it did not happen at all, which it will, and in some ways already has.
I think I can make some sense of that.
There's another.
Huh?
Another one of the 10 children that had been trapped in that world.
Micah said. Really?
After David had killed himself, Andrew's mother could barely live with the grief. In response, she'd adopted a daughter. One from one of the scientists after she'd been tested on.
Which scientist?
Jack.
What?
Jack had another daughter after Meg. You might remember the infant Kate was looking after alongside yourself and Andrew. That's her. He also had a son too, but hadn't been born yet. That'd be in 2013.
That's insane.
The daughter, Jennifer, was adopted while Jack was indisposed of because of Radical-9. The son, Samuel, had been killed inside one of the virtual world.
Wait, I'm still stuck on Jack having more kids.
Andrew grew up with an adopted sister that had a power like him. The difference is she willingly entered the virtual world to save her brother.
She sounds like she's really brave then.
She was. She's dead in this timeline.
I assumed.
Not in yours, though. We need to keep it that way.
Alright, let's get this started up again. I'm pumped. I'm ready to go, I said.
Kate's pod still needs to gain a bit more power, so we'll hold up on there for right now.
Micah said. Okay, then I'll go through this one, I said, pointing to the door in front of me. He nods his head.
That person you won't recognize based on looks.
Who is it?
It's Grace's father in there.
Her father? Why him?
It's kind of an interesting story. You were put in contact with his daughter by mistake. The automaton I sent back, the Meg automaton, had a set of rules implanted into her memory banks. She had to grab specific individuals related who were supposed to explain things in my absence, as I couldn't travel there myself. He was supposed to explain all this Radical-9 business and help you learn about your power. Something went wrong. when I sent her back and she misinterpreted the mission. So instead of grabbing Brian Jackson, she grabbed Chase.
Micah explains. And you were initially trying to bring Mason in with him? I ask.
No, I wanted to bring Thomas in. His medical expertise would help you come to terms with your condition in a way the uncle could not.
I have a question, I ask.
Go ahead.
How would have Grace's father explained anything to me? How is he related to this?
Her father worked as a yellow journalist, remember? He was actually Gene Armando's boss from Republic Plaza, if you also remember that.
He was the one who assigned Gene to the undercover work.
He'd been working to bring to light the events that had happened there in the Republic Plaza, starting even with the army which had done weapons testing the year before even the scientists got a hold of the place.
Okay, and so I'll be traveling back to see him there? Yeah, he might know something about Jack that we don't. Are you sure you're ready to jump back in so quick?
I'm positive. Alright then, head on in,
Micah said. I walk up to the door and grab a hold of the handle. I open the door and walk inside, see the familiar treatment pod in the base. The treatment pod has Brian Jackson written on it. Inside the small window I can see an old face. Wrinkles are amidst his plump red nose and mouth, and he looks like he's on his deathbed. Now, with Radical-9 existing, he may as well be. His hair is short and gray, and he looks to be well above 70 years old, maybe even 80.
You ready in there?
Micah asked me. Yes.
Okay, I'm starting it up.
Icarus begins to hum, and I crane myself over the basin. My vision goes black, but this feels different. The feeling of falling is absent. All that happens is that everything around me goes black for a second, and then in another it's filled with color. I think I'm finally getting some control over this power. I'm standing on an asphalt road. Snow piles up in patches around me, and skeletal trees surround me on the right. Behind me, I can see there are no more trees off in the distance. The road leads directly into the heart of the forest. In front of me, I see a solitary house. Its faded green paint has turned into a sort of gray-blue mixture. It is completely silent, not even the wind is making a sound. Everything seems to be holding its breath. I begin to walk up to the house, and each step I take it seems to jump 10 feet backwards. I blink, and then I'm there in a second. No, within a fraction of a second. I stare at the hardwood door for a moment, and I hesitate for another before I think about knocking on it. What if I'm invisible again and my knocks aren't heard? What if I'm not invisible, but nobody's home? I shake my head and put my closed fist up to the door, but as soon as I do, I feel a tinge of cold metal press against the back of my head. What do you think you're doing here, boy? A Texan accent draws out behind me. What? I said nervously. I want you to tell me who you are. Either you do, or I blow your brains to kingdom come. I'm Nathan Dent. The gun is shoved harder against my head and I cringe with pain. No, I don't think you understand. I know you ain't no Den. I've been researching you and your buddies and knowing an alias when I hear one. You don't exist, the voice said. You've been researching me? You and your old sciencey folks, I know something's up. You all messed up, didn't you? Me visiting the past through Kate's memories changed how he researched. Interesting. I turn around slowly and I see the younger face of Brian Jackson. He now bears a thick brown mustache and his plump red nose is as jolly as Santa's himself. I don't see any familial resemblance between him and Grace. In his hands I see he's carrying a double-barreled shotgun. Okay, I'll explain if you put the gun down, please. And how can I be sure I can trust you? Because I have answers, but I need to ask a few questions as well. What kind of questions? I'll tell you if you just put the gun down. I'm not here to cause any trouble. Brian hesitates slightly, but then he lowers the gun. Alright, we'll talk, but if I get any answers I don't like, I'll bangity bang without a second thought, he said, play shooting with the gun. Understood, I said. Now, why don't you head on inside? We're planning on it anyway, I reckon. Yeah, sure. Brian steps in front of me and opens the door, and steps inside. I follow him in. So, son, how did you manage to just poof into this here secluded forest now? What? Oh, don't worry, I won't tell no one, but I did see you. You just magically arrived. 1 second you're not here, and then the next you are. I didn't. I was just walking through the woods and got lost. I lie. No, it don't work like that, son. This area is federally protected. I'm in one of those witness protection program things. Are you supposed to tell me that? Well, I reckon if I thought you'd spill the beans, I could just shoot you right now, so I'm gonna answer my question. Ain't no way some city slick is wandering through these kinds of forests. Can you answer how you know about me, or any of this I've been asking him? Well, I was run on the list to be one of them science folk. You what now? Now I know what you're thinking. This man from the Oaks ain't no science typical. I take a moment to try and decrypt his drawl. Aren't you a reporter? I said, remembering one talk with Grace. Used to be. Wait, darn about a moment. How do you know that? Kinda connects to how I came here. Is the reason you aren't anymore because of you got into witness protection? Yeah. Does it have to do with you knowing something you shouldn't? Depends. What does that mean to you? You're right. I'm not really Nathan Dunning. I'm not really one of those scientists either. I'm working to find out what happened there, and part of what happened it gave me the ability to, as you put it, proof into existence here. I knew there was something up, Brian said. Can you tell me what year it is right now? It's kind of important, I said. It's 2013, son. 2013. It's the year the government collapses. But the way he talks about it, it's like it hasn't happened yet. Or he hasn't heard about it. One more question. How long have you been here without updates on anything? I asked. I don't remember too well. It's been a bit. I'd been sent here because I'd uncovered something about a virus you scientists made. Something about samples from space. Yes, it's real. It's all real. And do you know where your kid is? How do you know about my kid? It's a long story, but do you know where she is? There was some people in suits who took him for a walk a bit ago. How long ago? I look over Brian's shoulder and I see a letter resting on the mantel. What I can make of it, it seems to be something like a fancy eviction notice. It's dated 2011. Brian, are you supposed to be here? I ask. Brian's eyes turn wide momentarily, then he looks at me with renewed interest. Hello, and who are you? His accent was completely gone. What? Brian looks at me with his head cocked and an inquisitive look on his face. Why are you in my house? Brian, you need to listen to me. How do you know my name? How did you get into my house? Where's Grace? Brian asks, his eyes beginning to bug out. I take a step backwards and hold my arms up in front of me. Brian, it's okay. I'm not here to... No! You're not going to take me away? Give back what you took! Brian yells, raising the shotgun into the air. I jump back and scramble out of the house. I hear one blast go off, but I don't turn around to see what it hit. I practically jump through the front door, almost tripping over myself. Hey, Micah, this is a great time for you to stop Icarus again and find me to get away out of here. I call out running. I keep on running until I'm at the end of the street, where I believe I'm safe from Brian, and that's where I feel the dizziness begin to creep in. It is then that I drop. My eyes open fast. I'm lying in a dense forest. It's heavily fortified with full-grown trees at every corner, and lush with other kinds of greenery. It seems to be a totally different time than the last one. I blink my eyes slowly and rise to my feet. The earth begins shaking and I'm thrown off. I look up and then I realize the sky's different. It's a deep black, and then I look around me and I'm surrounded by darkness. The darkness begins shifting amongst me, then shapes rise into view. It comes into form on my right, something that I notice is quite familiar. It shifts into Icarus. It comes into focus slowly. I see a blurred figure standing in front of me. Micah, thanks for the save back there. You had a gun, and I stop when I notice that something is wrong. Terribly wrong. The figure standing before me isn't Micah at all. I'm standing face to face with Jack Adata. Chapter 7. Why, hello, Gavin. I hear you know a lot about me, Jack said. Or should I call you Mr. Denning? Your existence is quite troubling for the understanding, you see. His face is old, really old. I can't see the veins in his forehead poking out. His stature is really quite frightening. I back up slowly, my vision waning. What? You? I know a lot about you as well, Mr. Daniels. Jack folds his arms and takes a step toward me. His long blue overcoat flows behind him. I'd really hoped that Mr. Jackson would have taken care of you, but that doesn't seem to be the case. How do you know about that? Why? From you, of course. Well, to be more precise, from your consciousness from this time. Jack said, smiling. Just then I see Micah step out from behind Jack, a wicked look on his face. My face.
Ha! You should have totally seen the look on your face. I had you going with that sob story,
he said, cackling. His voice is back to the sarcastic tone I heard prior. You did well enough. Looks like your bloodline isn't totally worthless, Jack replies, turning his head to him. You. Why would you side with him? You know what he did. You saw what he did, I yell.
And I know what he can do, Gavin. Only a fool would deny it. What's the other side, huh? Do the right thing so I can waste away here for all eternity? No!
Micah screams, a vein pulsating on his head.
I threw away my main because I threw away my weakness. I'm not you.
We were meant to stop him. By doing this, you're dooming the other timelines, I said.
Fuck the other timelines. Don't you speak of them like you know anything. You know nothing.
He screams, his grin growing. Jack holds up an arm and Micah backs off. Now, no need to get personal. Oh, I'm sorry, slip of the tongue. Jack grins slightly. What my partner here is trying to say is that it is pointless to fight back. What you can do instead is join us. There is no limit to what we can accomplish. I take in these two. They're like polar opposites. Micah is unstable and looks like he's about to go off the wire. Meanwhile, Jack is a collected case of pure evil. And what would you do if I refused, huh? Jack looks to the ground and then up at the ceiling, taking in a deep breath. Gavin, we're to continue onward. We're going to what? We're moving forward. You're going to go back into the next room and continue your journey. You need to learn everything, he said. Why would you let me do that? I asked. There is much to learn, Gavin, and knowledge is the greatest thing we have, Jack said. Well, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do anything that helps you. I don't think you have a choice, and I don't think you'll like the alternative, Jack said. And what would that be? I'll let my partner here do his work on all of these survivors. Micah grins wildly.
I'll be sure to take it real slow on the poor subjects.
Andrew's in there. Your best friend, I said. Micah bends his head down, and I want nothing more than to punch him in the face.
I'd have the most fun ending his life. Him and those godforsaken puns.
I sigh. Okay, I'll do it, I said, clenching my fist. Good. Now, head on to that room over there, Jack said, pointing to a room behind me. I turn around, looking at the door. I slowly walk toward it. If anything, it'll give me some time to think of another plan. And, Gavin, please do try to hurry. I can't promise that I can restrain a friend here while you're gone, and I wouldn't want you to miss out on any memories because of it, Jack calls out. My pace continues unfaltering. I grip the handle of the door, silently cursing Jack and my future self. Damn it. Why would he side with Jack? Think you know someone. Turns out you can't even trust yourself. How much of this has been real? How much have I really seen? How much has he wanted me to see? I can't believe I let myself fall for his trap. I can't succumb to the questions. I need a beacon to hold on to. I need something to be real, something to believe in. Meg. I said I'd believe in Meg, but she'd just been an automaton, created by my future self to aid Jack. I'd met the real Kate, something real to hold on to. These memories are my beacon. They're what I can hold on to get me through this mess. He didn't want me finding out that half of the story, and now he has no choice but to show it all to me. But why? He could just easily killed me and end it right here. Unless he wants to make me his heir, like Mason had thought about. I hadn't really thought of it until now, but that's probably why he needs me alive. I'm infected with Radical-9 at my core, and I possess a body that he could use. Oh god, it's all coming clear. He's trying to get my power to fully awaken so he can add it to his arsenal. I open the door slowly and walk inside. Walk up to the treatment pod and I see it's Thomas inside. Sure enough, just below the small window I see Thomas Hadley is written down. I hear the mechanical hum of Icarus start up, and I pass a gaze over the basin, and immediately get sucked into its cold, hard grasp. I open my eyes and I'm lying on an apartment floor. I stand up to see the sleeping body of Tom on a nearby futon. I quickly run over to see if I'm invisible in this memory. I am. Just then, a nearby landline phone begins to ring. I see him bolt upright. He looks about as drowsy as I feel. He stands up slowly and yawns, walking over and places his hand on the landline phone. Just as he does, I see the time seems to stop, and everything but Tom and the phone fall into shadows. I see a figure appear to my left. They are cloaked in shadow and also holding a phone. I can see both sides of the call. Hello? Who is it? Thomas asked. The man in shadow walks forward and I can see him clearly. Thomas, I am in some deep shit, the voice said. Mason? Tom asked. I rub my eyes to make sure I'm not seeing things, but he's standing right here. Light returns to the world in selected sections. I can see Tom and about 5 feet around him. The same for Mason. It's like I'm in my own separate dimension, peeking into both of theirs while they're speaking. Maybe this is another part of my power. Thomas, you need to get out of the city as fast as you can, Mason said hurriedly. I can see his face is riddled with sweat, and his eyes are almost bugging out of his head. Uncle Mason? What's going on? Do you need me to drive up there? Tom asked. No, just listen. You need to get yourself out of the city. Find someplace safe, Mason replies. What does that mean? What happened? Thomas, your theory on Radical-9, do you remember it? Mason asked. Radical? What the hell happened? Did it get out? Tom asked, his face creasing with concern. Sort of, yes. At least it's going to. You have to talk about Jack, warn people. It'll be a matter of time before shit goes down, but I have to tell people, Mason said. Where's Kate? That's the part I'm getting to. You're gonna need to take care of her. I'm positive I'm not gonna make it out of this meeting with the president alive. The president? Mason, please reconsider. I can't. This has to stop now. At least call Kate before we go. Okay. I'm trying to get a hold of the situation currently, but that's why I called you. You need to get out of the city, because once people find out about this, shit's gonna hit the fan, Mason said. Are you sure you don't want me driving up there to help you out? Tom asked. I see Mason's side go completely dark, and I'm left with a confused Tom slamming the phone down. He grabs his coat and walks into the shadows, and I'm left staring at the two pockets. All of a sudden, I feel a certain energy flow through me. I don't know, but I feel like I have the ability to scroll through these. I raise my hand in front of me, and see that my feeling was correct. Am I unlocking my power by myself now? Scrolling through the small previews into other worlds, the next one that comes up is one I recognize immediately. It shows Icarus. Inside of the pocket dimension I see Jack and Micah. I'm looking at it from the outside, a dark void in between the dimensions. I bring that one dimension closer to me so I can hear what they're talking about.
How much are you going to let him know?
Micah asked, coming into focus. Jack turns and laughs. Enough. This has been a long time coming, and a specific amount of events need to happen for this to be exactly how I need it, Jack said.
Okay, but couldn't you do that without risking him learning too much?
Micah asked. Jack's stare turns hard. Once I take over, it'll give me potential. Potential for limitless power. Power without limitations like I have now.
I've been kind of dodging the elephant in the room,
Micah said. And that would be...
You wouldn't have gotten here if it wasn't for me bringing you to this time, Jack. I want you to get me out of here,
Micah said. Aren't you the one with the power to jump through time? I don't see why you need me to do that.
I could, in theory, with Icarus here, but I would need someone to be at the controller for basically all of eternity. I've done you the favor of not bringing that up. I mean, don't get me wrong. I appreciate you helping me build this thing in the first place, but I need further help to break this boundary of mine,
Micah said. So, it was Jack that was his partner. Makes enough sense now in hindsight. And if I were to refuse? If I were to just deny you that power? Jack asked.
Well, I don't think you'll be doing that. I'm your ticket out of this time unless you want to be stranded here. You do me this favor,
Micah said, grinning wildly. Or I could just take over your mind and leave you to the rats. Micah isn't ready to let go that easily.
If you try, I'll be sure to shut this thing off. You wouldn't want that, now would you? Pipsqueak in there be lost in some random strain of time. You'd have no way of finding,
he said, a jack-o'-lantern-like grin on his face. Seems you have me well met. I guess I'd underestimated you, Mr. Daniels.
Please, not that name. I no longer wish to have any association with that windbag,
he said. Micah, huh? Whatever brought about that name?
Change.
I see. Alright then. Jack continues to nod his head, and then he holds up his hand. Come here, I've got just the thing for you. Micah walks up grinning.
Now you're speaking my language.
Before I do this, I must ask that you keep in mind our agreement, Jack said.
Yeah, I'll go back and round up Jay's kid just in case you manage to fuck this one up.
Good, Jack said, nodding and placing his palm on Micah's chest. It begins glowing white, and then I see it begin to glow brighter and brighter. I see smoke rising off of his chest. Micah begins laughing, louder and louder, as Jack's face is as hard as stone. In another few seconds, Jack raises his palm and backs away. Micah's chest is still burning white, and his form begins shifting. His back hunches over, and I can see his hands begin to shape into sharp claws. Hair grows rapidly across his body, my old body, and his face shifts into something that looks like a mixture between man and wolf. There are veins across his chest that pulsate with a glowing white light, and he howls once. I decided to give you a bit more physical boot as well. Once you can control it, you'll be able to shift at will, along with your enhanced jumping, Jack said. Micah's voice roars out, heavily guttural.
I feel strong.
Why is it that you can't do that to yourself?
Jack shrugs his shoulders. It isn't something that works on me. The most logical reason is most likely because I'm already overloaded with the stuff, he replies.
Duly noted, Deputy Danger.
Micah said. Now, why don't you go make yourself useful and start on that little plan of mine, why don't you? Jack asked. I'll wait here for him.
I'll get to that eventually. I want to go outside for a bit. You did say I needed to get control over it.
Micah half roars, but I can see the sort of jack-o'-lantern grin on his face. Fine, just make sure it gets done, you hear me?
Loud and clear, amigo.
Micah grumbles, throwing his big claw hand in a salute. He slashes his claws into the air. They seem to tear at the very fabric of time-space. In another moment, I see him begin to phase in and out and distort. Within seconds, he's gone, body and all. I'm left there staring into the pocket dimension with my jaw wide open. Jack expects a chance of failure. That's why he's sending Micah out there as a failsafe. He isn't fully confident he can get inside my head. I'm gonna show him just how right he is for being unsure. I know of steadfast confidence growing within myself. I move to re-enter the dimension, but then my body stops cooperating and I crumple to the ground. My vision clots and it all goes dark. I'm not falling through the space between dimensions, but somewhere solid. I must have landed, and the next thing I know I'm lying on the ground beside the basin and the treatment pod. I reach up and grab the side of the pod with my right hand, and my whole body is trembling. I feel a powerful force hit my back, and I slam into the treatment pod from behind. I turn my head around to see Jack standing over me. He must have kicked me or something. And what are we doing here? I thought you'd entered the room with Thomas, huh? How the hell did you get here? Jack asked. What? I ask, struggling to get to my feet. Just then I see the name on the treatment pod is Kate's, and not Tom's. That means I must have moved my body when I came back. Is this a step forward? I sure hope so. Well, Jack asked. What? I asked. Your power is strengthening, is it not? Jack asked. And what would you do if it were? I asked. Jack's face grows into a grimace. I'm not letting you visit these ridiculous memories so you can be a pain in my side, Jack said. You expected me to be cooperative? It seems I may need a stronger motivator, Jack said. What does that mean? I ask. Jack replies with silence. I hear a loud cracking sound and look to my side. I see that the treatment pod is caving in like a crushed soda can. I then look back to Jack with a look of obvious worry on my face. What are you doing? It's going to kill her. She died the moment you started being a pain, Jack said. The treatment pod nearly collapses on itself, but it stops. Now, next time you disobey, she'll get the full effect of going through the trash compactor, Jack said. I'm breathing hard, and I look from Jack to the treatment pod. I immediately turn towards Jack and lunge at him. In a matter of seconds, Jack has me pinned to the wall behind me. But the weird part is, he hasn't moved a single muscle. It's telekinesis, I call out. Oh, it's quite helpful for situations quite like these, you'll find, Jack said, grinning. I begin sliding against the wall toward the door, a vice-like grip attached right around my neck. I can feel the force crushing my windpipe, and Jack begins walking alongside me, telekinetically dragging me alongside. I'm beginning to lose consciousness. My body begs for air. Jack puts his hand on the back of my head and shoves it into the basin. You really shouldn't be missing work like this, Mr. Daniels. It may cost you an arm and a leg someday, Jack said, shoving my head in deeper. My vision is filled to the brim with various colors, and my body begins to feel lighter, until it's all numb. I'm dying. This is different. He's killing me, right here and now. My vision begins to fade, and all I see is darkness. Chapter 8. My eyes open, and I'm screaming loudly. My breath is staggered, and I look around and notice that I'm lying in a bed. The floor and walls are decorated somewhat like a hotel room. There's a wardrobe on the other side of the admittedly small room, and the bed I'm resting on is fit low to the ground. I hear footsteps outside of the room, and the door to my left opens. Kate runs through, half awake and somewhat droopy. Nate, is everything okay? My heart is still beating nearly out of my chest. I turn toward her. I must be back in the Republic Plaza. I'm fine. I just had a bit of a nightmare, I said, not entirely lying. Kate walks further into the room and sits down on the foot of the bed. Is it anything you want to talk about, dear? Kate asked. This has kind of crossed into a weird zone. I think I'm fine. That's all right, I reply. Okay, well, I was coming to wake you up anyway. Really? Looks like you just woke up yourself, I said. I did. Did you want to get a start on the day? I guess so, I said. I really need to find out what year it is. Okay, don't forget we have to go to my father's lab first thing, remember? Kate said. For what again, exactly? Today's the day my father's prototype is shown off. That's what? Prototype? Prototype of what, exactly? You get dressed and I'll meet you down there, okay? Kate asked. Yeah, sure. She nods and smiles. She then slides off the bed and kisses me on the lips. My eyes go wide and I nearly topple off the bed. Whoa, must have been one crazy dream to get you so spooked like that, Kate said. Yeah, you have no idea, I said. Alright, don't take too long, she said, walking out of the room. Just what the hell happened here? I waited a few moments in silenced horror and then I scrambled to the digital clock beside my bed. April 1st, 2013. So this is before the government shut down, but that would also mean my parents would be dead by now. Wait a minute, why is Kate here? Why am I here? Why is Mason still here? I run out of the room to see the white hallway. Sure enough, this is the same hallway, isn't it? Why is this memory conflicting with everything I know? I look down to myself and notice I'm wearing a set of pajamas. Weird. I walk back into the room and walk over to the wardrobe, throw on a pair of long gray pants and a black long-sleeve shirt. I also am glad to realize the pain I'd felt from the last memory hadn't carried over. I walk back outside of my room onto the monochromatic hallway. Now, if only I could figure out which way I'm supposed to go. Never knew each of the scientists had personalized labs. Nathan, where are you going? I turn around to see Kate on the other side of the hallway. Well, I'm heading to your father's lab, of course, I mumble out. Oh, I understand what's going on. I do that sometimes too. Come on, this way, Kate said, motioning her hand. I turn over and walk over to her confusedly. Do what sometimes? I ask. Think of the old building. It's such a mystery to me why we decided to rebuild this place to look exactly like the Western. Just makes everything so confusing, she said. The Eastern branch? Oh, of course, how could I have forgotten? We begin walking down the hallway and the elevator opens at the end. Just like the other building, instead of hitting the button up for the 4th floor, Kate instead hits the button for the 7th. I don't see why anyone would even think it'd make sense trying to cram a 56-story building into a 23-story one. It's less than half, Kate said. The elevator begins moving downward. There's a tense silence in the air. Kate grabs my hand in hers, and I can feel my heartbeat increase in speed. She must notice because she gives me a weird look. Are you alright? You've been acting a bit strange. It's just, that nightmare really got to me, I said. Oh, I know how that feels. Sometimes I have nightmares about things that are just absolutely horrible. Like what? I ask. This Radical-9 stuff. I actually dreamed about it before it happened. I saw people dying, and she trails off. It's okay. We don't need to talk about it if you don't want to. I saw you. What? I saw you die. It's this terrible war zone. People dying everywhere, and I saw you die. When was this? I ask. Back about a year before I'd even met you. I hadn't put the pieces back together then, because who remembers a nightmare they had that long ago? But then I had it again, a few nights ago. I remembered everything, and I remembered seeing you. Was there anybody else there you could remember? I asked. There was a few, but I don't remember them all too well. I do remember seeing another girl, 17 or 18. She was crying over you, cradling your body. She had dark red hair, Kate said, obviously distressed. It's just a dream though, right? It isn't real, I said, not confident in my own words. She was one of the people infected with Radical-9. Yeah, it's just a dream, Kate said quietly. The elevator doors opened and we stepped out quietly. We were in a hallway that was long and narrow. Various paintings littered the walls. I see various recognizable ones like the Mona Lisa or Starry Night as I pass by. We entered a large room that extends out both sides beside us. I see Mason and Jay. They're standing on top of a small set of stairs in a wide laboratory. Tables and desks clutter the floor, and all sorts of papers clutter the tables. Well, there you are, Mason said. Sorry, we kind of overslept, Kate replies. Now, Nathan, I'd like to be the first to humbly thank you for your service here and efforts to stop Jack. You've been more than a help than I can imagine, and your father would be proud, Mason said. My father? I ask. Yeah, Greg would sure be proud of you, Jay reiterates. Wait a second, what? Son, we know you're Gregory's kid. You look just like him, Jay said. We also know the kinds of things you're going through right now. What? Wait, is this? Kate asked. By the looks of it, you shouldn't really be in this time, should you? Mason asked. You know because you two have Radical-9 in your systems, right? I said. Mason nods. That's why my thanks earlier were made. Your power to travel through time is something truly amazing, Mason said. How long have you known? I asked. First day I met you, Mason said. Likewise, and it's likely that Jack didn't give two shits, or he might have caught on too. That's why we played along, Jay said. Just one moment. I'm having trouble understanding, Kate said. How could he be a time traveler if he's been here every day for like 6 years? It's difficult to explain, but he's only just now rejoining us. Is that correct? Right. This morning is the first I've ever been to this building personally. Last time I saw it, it was still kind of a wreck, I said. No, that's impossible. You've been here this whole time, Kate said. You remember me being here this whole time. In reality, Jack never suspected anything is because I didn't meet him back then. Neither did Jay, or even David. That first day I left when we were on the rooftop. Kate holds her hands to her head. This is all so confusing. I turn toward her. I'm not from this time. I'm from the general area, yes, but not this time specifically. I am infected with Radical-9, and I can send my consciousness into other times where my body could exist. Marvelous, Mason said. It's limited as far as I know. I can only stay for a few hours at a time until I can control it fully, but I've recently learned that I can sort of slip through different times, as if it were like flipping through chapters in a book, I said. I think I understand, so when you left the first time, who was it that stayed here? Kate asked. I'm not sure. It could have been me from any point in time. It wasn't me, but it was, I explained. Well, this is all fantastic, and now you're here to witness me reveal the world's first automaton, Mason said, and he picks up a small remote at the nearby desk. Automaton? I ask. Yes, a machine made to look like a human, I finish. Precisely, Mason said. Jay's been here helping me finish the prototype. Mason presses the button and a section of the floor opens up between him and Jay. It opens pretty wide and I see that something is rising up from below. Let me be the first to announce that the Automaton project is officially at the testing phase, Mason said. Let me tell you, he would not shut up once he finished this thing, Jay said to us. Rising from the space beneath the floor is a figure, a pure white humanoid shape, completely featureless. It looked somewhat like a mannequin. This is the beginning of our attack on Jack, Mason said. Logically, we cannot harm him, but if we could find something to go between, we'd be at least much safer. Jack probably got this idea from Mason in the future. Mason, however impressive these things are now, it isn't you who has control of them in the future, I said. What? Mason asked. The reason I'm here now is because my body, where I'm actually coming from, is in the year 2060. Jack is waiting for me on the other end, so to speak. He's there monitoring me, and he's got knowledge on how I can build these things, probably en masse. Well, then I guess I have a lot of work to do to catch up, huh? Mason asked. Mason, maybe he has a point, Jay said. Jay, we've come this far. If we can finish these faster, then we can end this faster. You need to destroy this thing and fast. Maybe you can change history all the faster. The automaton shall remain as it is, under my command. I can even prove it'll do no harm to us, Mason said. He presses the button on the remote once more, and I hear a low mechanical hum. Mason, don't make the same mistake my father and Jack made. The automaton slowly shifts its head to the right and to the left. It is somewhat like a clockwork figure, turning on process and logic. It turns its head slowly in almost full rotation, but then returns to its normal gaze, staring forward once more. My heart is pounding, and I have the unending feeling that something was supposed to happen, something more. And then it does. The automaton lunges to the side, knocking Mason off of his feet. It jumps on top of the nearest desk, nearly smashing it into two pieces. Dad! Kate yells out. The automaton turns its head toward the direction of the sound, and I see its hand open up to reveal a syringe. Mason, you need to shut it down, now! Jay runs to tackle the automaton, but it shoves him off with one stroke of its heavy arm. I see not just one syringe in its hands, but now three. I hear Kate running toward her father, but the automaton is one step ahead. It jumps behind her and takes her by her hair. She yelps and is then thrown to the ground. Not wasting another moment, I find myself jumping onto the automaton's back, grappling its neck. It takes notice and then I feel a sharp sting in my right arm. I look down to see the creature had stabbed my arm with the syringe. Another second and it stabs my left too. I can feel the liquid being drawn in, and I lose my grip on the automaton. Kate gets up off the ground and is backed up against the wall. I fall off and I can see it ready the third syringe, but it isn't aiming it at me. It's aiming it right at Kate. I start seeing flurries of different colors and shapes, but one single thought permeates all of it. I must save Kate. I'm up in a matter of seconds. My arms are losing their feeling. The automaton readies its arm and I see Kate cringe. I scream out and I'm running in front of the automaton. I push Kate out of the way, and the next moment I see darkness. There is a quieted silence and then light comes back in fuzzy, distorted shapes. I'm breathing heavy, and the pain of it all comes in one fell swoop. I grasp it around my face, screaming, and then I feel it. The syringe was lodged in my right eye. The pain of it all was worse than anything I've ever felt. My vision was fading, but I could see Mason using what looked to be a high-tech pair of spark plugs to finally end the cruel monster. It fell to the ground with a loud thump. My brain was working in overdrive. Did I get a quick look at all of their relieved faces? They don't stay that way for long because when they see me, they turn to a shared look of horror. The next thing I know, everything goes dark. Is this how it ends? By a memory? Did I fail? Chapter 9. Everything is foggy. It feels like I've been in the darkness for the entirety of my life. I hear faint sounds, people talking, whispers, even laughter. I don't know where I am, and I believe I'm losing touch with who I am. I feel if I don't constantly remind myself, I'll forget, and just be a wandering spirit in the darkness. Cursed to wander, just to wander. No purpose, no being, nothing. All of a sudden I see a bright, white light. It is a single concentrated beam of light shined directly in my eyes. It moves from one eye to the other, and then back to the first. I slowly open my eyes, and I can see Mason and Jay hovering above me. Mason has a small flashlight hovering above my eyes, testing for dilation. Where am I? I slowly ask. My voice is a lot more strained than I thought. Slow down there, Tiger. You're lucky to be alive. You don't need to rush anything. I'm alive? You saved my daughter, Mason said. I sit up and I feel a rushing headache come on. Hey, what did you just say about taking it easy? Jay asked. My head begins to pound. My head, why does it hurt so much now? I ask, holding my hand up. Yeah, there's one thing we've not yet told you, Jay said. What is it? I ask. The automaton had those syringes. They were full of turbocurarine. Oh, I have a bad feeling about this. Okay, and? I ask, fearing the answer. The drug would have killed you if it reached your heart, Jay explains. And it didn't, because we removed the drug from your body before it could reach your heart. That's great. How did you manage that? We didn't know the circumstances of you being... Mason begins. We didn't know how to handle what you are, Gavin. Or rather, what you'd become, Jay said. Your body is a more complex version of the prototype I've been running, Gavin. You're an automaton, Mason said in awe. Yeah, this is what happens when Jack got his hands on me, basically to make a very long story very short. Well, I also have to explain you don't really have a heart anymore, at least not fully, Mason said. Explain. Well, in your new body, your heart is equal to that of a tiny generator. It's not susceptible to the turbocurarine. In fact, none of your body actually was, so since your whole respiratory system has been automated, I still felt it all, you know? Yeah, your nerves have been fused into the circuitry. That's how you can move around and feel things around you. I see. Just then, I see the faces of Jay and Mason turn into looks of horror. What's wrong? I ask. Jay points behind me. I turn quickly and then I see it too. It looks to be a rip in time itself. Coming right through is an arm I can recognize by the long blue sleeve with the golden filigree. What is that? Mason asked. I don't even get a chance to explain as the arm grabs my neck. I feel an intense burning sensation as his hand makes contact. I scream out and I'm yanked through the rift in time. The next thing I see is I'm being thrown against Icarus. I crash hard against the hard metal, and I look up to see Jack standing before me, stationed in the pit of Icarus. Well, seems like you had a nice reunion, Jack said. I can still feel my neck burning from where he grabbed me. Just what did he do? What, cat got your tongue? Jack asked. I tried to speak, tried to move, to do anything, but I lost all feeling in my body. Well, it seems like you've made my job all the easier. You weren't supposed to talk to them. You were supposed to let the stupid girl die, Jack said. He walks closer to me, but then he stops. I see a weird look on his face. It turns to one of curiosity, but it doesn't stay for long, and in the next moment his face turns to one of surprise. He steps forward quickly, but then everything I see went dark. I open my eyes, and I am in the space between dimensions. In another second, I see Jack's arm once more, and I try to swim away from it. I locate another dimension in the distance and propel myself toward it. Right when I'm about to make contact, I feel a hardened grip on my leg. It's the one that got burned, so I wince a little as it tightens. I stretch out and grab hold of a new time and yank myself through. I tumble through and land against the wall. I hear some screaming as I see Jack tumbling in after me. I notice to look around and see I'm outside of Andrew's house. What did you do to me? I ask, finally getting my voice back. Jack gets to his feet slowly, obviously dazed. You jumped, he said, looking up at me. As he does, his face curves into one of shock. You kept your body. How did that? I don't let him finish. I'm running at him and I catch him off guard, sending him off his feet. I've got to find something to protect myself with. Anything at all. I look around me and I can't see anything in the reach that will help. Jack gets to his feet and I see an angry look fill up his face. Why, you little. You're just as annoying as your pesky father, he said. He then brings his right arm up and I see something begin to form in it. It's some sort of purple mess of goo. It looks sort of like some sort of plasma. It begins dripping out of his hands onto the ground below him, and it starts burning the grass around him. Jack takes a step forward and then throws the plasma glob. It hurtles right toward me, and instinctively I raise my hands up in front of me. The plasma coats my hands, but then the strangest thing happens. It doesn't burn or anything, but instead begins to wrap around my hand and arm like a double helix. It dances around my fingertips, and I feel I can will it with my own mind. What the hell now? Jack screams. I'm just as surprised as you are, I said, my eyes not leaving the formed substance. Must have been when I grabbed you, Jack said, more to himself than me. Maybe. Is it possible he'd given me these powers by accident? It's plausible he accidentally did the same thing to me as he did to my future self. That could mean I already have my ticket out of here. I just have to survive this fight. Just how dangerous is this stuff right here? I asked, walking closer to Jack. You don't know the power of which you deal with, Jack said, backing up a step. Oh, how the mighty act, I start. I can see Jack's eyes moving from my hand to my face. Now, do you want to do this the hard way or the easy way? I ask. Jack is silent for a second and then a wicked grin appears. In a matter of moments, Jack whips his arm up and I'm lifted into the air. I half expected the telekinesis to come in at some point, but it still is just as restricting as last time. I cannot move my body at all. Maybe I don't have to move my body. I breathe slowly and concentrate on the plasma covering my arms. In another moment, the plasma begins to shift and change. It begins to bubble, and in the next moment I see it hop off of my arm. It heads straight for Jack, scalding the side of his head. I hear him yell and I'm dropped to the ground. I look at him and I see that nearly a third of his face has been burnt by the bubbling plasma. You son of a bitch! In a matter of seconds, Jack has closed the distance between us and he shoves me to the ground. I feel the wind get knocked out of me, and the whole world around us changes in a flash. 1 second we're outside of Andrew's house, and now we're on top of the Republic Plaza building. Jack looks around himself, confused, and I take the opportunity to kick him off of me. He catches himself in midair and is now hovering a foot off the ground. You can float now? I ask. Jack doesn't answer. He immediately rushes in and picks me up. We're rising up, higher and higher. The rooftop of the Republic Plaza begins to shrink to the size of a raisin. We continue to rise up, but then I feel something different, as if everything just fell into place. My beacons of reality, they're all doomed if I can't get out of this. Which is why I will get out of this. I can get out of this whenever I need to. I have the power. Concentrate, and then I close my eyes. My heart begins to slow, and I feel the air around us change. I open my eyes, and we're standing back in my college dorm room. Jack falls backwards onto my bed, and I look around quickly. I reach for my roommate's neck drawer, but feel the left half of my body held back. Jack's telekinesis pulls me away, but I pull my hardest to push forward. It feels like my body is tearing itself apart, but I manage to grab hold of a knife inside the drawer and I toss it at Jack. He lets go of me to catch the knife. Just before it reaches him, I feel the metal of the knives. They're cold and hard, but I'm not even touching them. All in one mental motion, I feel them rising out and soaring out toward Jack. I can see I caught him off guard. In another moment, I close my eyes, and I'm gone. I'm floating in the space between dimensions. I don't even care which one I go to. I just need to get away. I need to find a place to regain my thoughts. I need to find someone to help. Bring me to anybody. I'm floating through the darkness, and then I see a sudden light ahead of me. I swim through the space to reach the light. I'm reaching closer and closer for it. I finally reach it and extend my arm out toward it. I get just one slight touch of the light, and I'm dragged in like a stray dust to evacuate. I awaken in the middle of a desolate city street. Buildings are in complete disarray around me. There is nobody around, and the whole place looks like it'd been abandoned for years. I stand up and get my bearings and I cough. Even the air around me tastes toxic. My brain is racing at 1,000,000 miles a minute, and my body is doing its best to catch up. I then hear a stray thought enter my mind. It freezes me to my core, and all other functions stop as soon as I hear it. Gavin. That is all. Just one single word in one unforgettable voice. I hear him. I hear Jay. I turn around in a full circle, looking for any sign of him. Nothing. Telepathy. It must be. I remember Micah saying something about me being able to talk with those like me like this. I connected with him. That might mean I could answer back. Jay? Is that you? Jay? Oh, Gavin, I can't say how happy I am to hear your voice again. Where are you? I look around my surroundings, trying to find out any indicating features. I see ruined skyscrapers all around me, except for the one building that is standing only as the first floor is surviving. There's a massive gate surrounding the perimeter of the building, but I can see the words Republic Plaza coding the front of what remains in the building. I'm in Denver. I'm in my Denver. Back in my time. I can't believe I'd ever be thankful to be in a ruined city. I'm in Denver by the Republic Plaza. Really? We're in the town over. I'll swing by to pick you up. We have some things to take care of first. I take a deep breath and lean against the gate. Just who could be with him? We? All of a sudden my head begins to pound. I'm having another vision. It overlays my current vision like another layer of the world. No passing out this time. I'm staring at the spot I've just been standing in, but from a different time, perhaps. It doesn't seem to look any different at all, so maybe it was just a few hours ago. I see Jay standing in front of a small car, and then another figure comes into view. I recognize him immediately as Andrew Cress. Right beside him is a younger girl, blonde hair and brown eyes. I can also see she's bleeding from a wound on her head, and it looks pretty serious. This vision's from 2022, and that's where I feel I am now. I can feel the intuition I had prior rush back to me. Apparently it's not as serious as I think, because she's able to move and function properly, but it still has me uncomfortable. I think this might have been right after Andrew and his sister left that virtual world. What was his sister's name again? Jen? So, what do we do from here on out? Andrew asked. I'll take you both back to your house, and I'll go on my way, Jay said. You worked with both of our fathers, didn't you? Jen asked. Yeah, I'm Jay Ryan. I have my own son who's just like you two, he said. Really? Where is he? Andrew asked. I'd say he's having a blast on a school field trip to the Bronx Zoo right about now. I left him with some people I trust that I know will raise him right, he said somberly. What about you? I don't trust myself not to ruin his life any more than I already had, he said. I'd let some old friends of mine adopt him. Yes, they always wanted to have a kid, but couldn't have one on their own. What's next for you then? Andrew asked. I mentioned it a bit before, but I plan on continuing my research on the cure for Radical-9. I owe it to my boy to make a world that is safe for him to live in. Jay gets into the car, followed by Andrew and Jen. I walk up closer to the car to hear them better. Radical-9? Jen asked. I'll explain it later, Andrew said. So, Andrew knows then. Jen looks in Andrew's eyes for a moment and then shifts her gaze to the ground. So, you're Jack's daughter. I can see it in your eyes, Jay said, looking into the rearview mirror. Yeah. Before all this, he was a good man with good intentions. Something in that stupid specimen had brought something feral inside him. I don't know how else to explain it, Jay said. There's a tense silence. Jay begins to drive off. I watch as the car leaves my field of view. The vision fades slowly and I'm left standing beside the gate. I can see a bright light in front of me. 2 of them, actually. I notice it's gotten extremely dark outside and stars fill the skies. The two lights close in on me, and I finally see them to be headlights. The car returns just as quickly as it had left, but the one difference is, this time, it isn't a vision. Endgame. I stand completely still as the car swings up and stops right next to me. The passenger door opens, and I see that Jen had moved to the back seat, in between Andrew and another girl. She's got long black hair, just a few shades brighter than Andrew's. I can see her deep blue eyes from outside the car. I'm guessing how she seemed attached to Andrew at the hand, they must be involved in some way. I see Jay flash a smile at me and he cocks his head. "Hop on in, Gavin. We have a lot to talk about," he said. "Certainly," I said. I opened the door and stepped inside, pulling the door closed. Jay begins pulling out and onto the street. He's going rather fast, but I'm not complaining. "So are you one of the 10? Jen asked me. Yeah, Jay. Did you explain Radical-9 to them?" "Yeah, before we go farther than that, I should introduce you. Andy, Jen, Lindsay, this is Gavin Daniels." "Daniels? Wait, you're the one from the Vision," Jen said. "What?" I asked. "Jen has had visions of the past when we were trapped inside of Elysium. You hear that?" Andy asked. "Yeah, I heard of it." "Oh, it was your parents. They saved me," Jen said. "Must have been when they died," I said. "Gavin, your parents were brave people, and I'm sure they're proud of all that you've done." "Well, I'm Andrew Cress, but please, call me Andy. It makes me sound less formal. I'm not one much for formalities," he laughs. "And you're Jen, right?" I ask. The younger blonde nods her head. I can see the resemblance she had to Megan. "And you're Lindsay. Who are you?" I ask. "I met Andrew inside of Elysium. Now, I'm not like you guys. I don't have this Radical-9 stuff inside my body, but I'm fully committed to help you guys in whatever you need." "And you two are," I said, pointing to Andy and her. She nods. "Okay, so Jack is still alive." I dropped the bomb. "And frankly, I bet he's pissed." "We're gonna have a long ride, so feel free to get any stories out while you can," Jay said. I nodded my head. "It all started back in 2018, I began. I tell them the adventures of my first kidnapping, meeting myself in the future, being betrayed by myself in the future, even realizing I'm not even in my own body anymore. I tell them of my power to travel through time, and I also tell them of all that I heard of their journey, their adventure through the mystical virtual world Elysium." "How is that possible? We only just left there not a few hours ago," Lindsay asked. "In the future I'd been in, your journey had already happened. My future self was the only one there to remember it. Everybody else was comatose or too busy trying to keep the human race alive to prevent Radical-9 from spreading, making us all extinct," I explained. "But in the end, your other self betrayed you for power," Jen said. "I don't think it was the power he wanted specifically. I kind of feel for him. He'd been forced to live as the caretaker of the world, all of it hung on his shoulders. He'd had no one else to comfort him, and he had a longing I once knew. I wasn't really social before all this. I didn't really need anybody else after my parents died," I said. "I'm so sorry," Andy said. "I believed that I could do it on my own, and I've learned firsthand what being alone leads me to. I've learned the one thing that separates me from him," I said. "Well, I'll say, no matter what you turned out like that in the future, you're not going to be as bad as him," Andy said. "Yeah, there's no way we're going to let that happen," Lindsay said. "We have to stop him, because he's going to be the end of this world if we don't," I said. "Okay, do you have any inkling where he may be now?" "I do. He's going after your son, Jay. Jack set up a failsafe with Micah to go after him if he failed to get me. We're already heading there, Gavin. No need to worry. We have time. Micah said he needed time to learn his abilities, but we can't count on that. We need to find him as fast as we can. It might be a little difficult, because the people I gave him to went deep into hiding. They changed their names for this because they understood the gravity of the situation. We're gonna need some time to find them," Jay said. "Well then, let's get a move on, shall we?" Jen asked. "I'm already clocking 80 on this thing. It wasn't in the best of shape when I picked it up, so I don't want us ending our journey because of some engine fire or something like that starting up." We set our sights on the transcontinental journey, and now our destination is New York. Hopefully Jay's kid is still alive and kicking, because we'll have one hell of a fight on our hands. Hero. My hero. Megan, I think I'm finally beginning to understand what you called me, and I think I'm finally ready to take up that mantle. This is gonna end, all of it, and your memory will finally be able to rest in peace. Well, you've reached the end of the story. Brian here. I'm so glad you made it this far, and I want to give my thanks to Laches for providing the voice of David Cress throughout this novel, as his performance was spot on and exactly how I wanted it. Now, if you're interested in continuing this story, check out Dreamer, as it caps off the original Radical-9 trilogy, and then continue onward to A New Dawn, the Dreamer epilogue. Or if you want to check out my other series, 12 Monoliths, you can begin here with Good People Die.